Hello! Welcome, fellow YouTubers, to the History Pilgrim, the channel where dusty timelines come alive, forgotten stories get their moment in the sun, and the strange and wonderful moments of the past are served up with wit and wonder. Whether we're unearthing the bizarre customs of medieval kings, debunking historical myths that just won't die, or tracing the path of empires that rose and fell like badly planned group projects, this is your one-stop journey into history that's anything but boring. Pack your curiosity, ditch your textbook, and prepare to wander boldly through centuries. This isn't your school's version of history, this is the History Pilgrim. In the age before jetliners, the skies belonged to something much larger, quieter, and slower, the airship. These massive floating beasts once inspired awe as they glided silently above the world, promising a future of elegant air travel. Airships were first invented in the late 1800s, when Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin imagined a world in which humans could conquer the skies. During World War I, Germany used Zeppelins in massive amounts for the first time ever. They used them for reconnaissance and bombing raids. These ships proved invaluable for aerial warfare. The Zeppelins were used for bombing raids over London, which marked a terrifying turning point in the history of warfare. This was the first time ever when civilians were able to be killed in staggering amounts. It must have been a science fiction nightmare for citizens of London after a night at the pub or the theater to see these massive ships bombing their city. After the war, in the 1920s and 1930s, is when airships entered their golden age. Luxurious vessels carried passengers across oceans. Passengers were served fine wine and great food in elegantly decorated rooms with live musicians, while passengers gazed out at clouds through open windows. The Hindenburg was a floating palace launched in 1936. This marvel of German engineering was meant to symbolize a new era in transatlantic air travel between the US and Europe. The Zeppelin was originally planned to use non-flammable helium gas. However, due to shortages caused by trade embargoes, Germany used hydrogen gas instead. Despite being most famous for its final voyage, which ended in tragedy, the Hindenburg made over 10 voyages across the Atlantic. The airship, which was meant to dazzle crowds in the US and Germany, was meant to serve as a propaganda instrument for the Nazi Party. The Hindenburg, upon approaching a landing mast in Lakehurst, New Jersey, burst into flames. A lightning strike ignited the hydrogen-filled balloon, creating a massive inferno. The fire ignited near the tail section. Within seconds, the airship was a flaming skeleton. The fiery disaster killed 36 people and was captured on radio and film. The event was one of the most traumatic radio broadcasts of all time and was heard across the globe. Instantly, the trust in airships plummeted. While the Hindenburg is best remembered for its disaster, the story of the airship is far stranger than most history books let on. The Zeppelin was part cruise ship in the sky and part propaganda tool. In Germany, the Hindenburg typically docked at a massive hangar, which was a building so massive and echoing, even today it would resemble something out of a science fiction movie. It also occasionally docked in Brazil using makeshift masts, which resembled art projects gone wrong. The ship itself contained a dining hall with a piano, sleeping quarters, and even a smoking lounge. A strange choice for an airship which was full of hydrogen gas. Everything needed to be as light as possible, which meant everything from the chairs to the tables to even the piano was made of aluminum. The piano was coated in pigskin to keep vibrations down. Everything looked fancy but weighed next to nothing because everything needed to weigh as little as possible. The one shower on board dispensed precisely 2 gallons. While the Hindenburg disaster destroyed the reputation of airships, Germany continued to use them for various purposes during World War II. One of the most common uses of airships was meteorology. The Germans deployed smaller dirigibles for weather tracking, flying them over coastal areas to collect weather data. While Germany never operated airships for combat on the scale seen in World War I, in World War II, German forces may have used airships for surveillance over the US East Coast. In the early 1940s, as German U-boat convoys were up and down the East Coast, people began to report strange objects being seen in the sky from Maine down to North Carolina. In the summer of 1942, an unsettling report emerged from New Jersey beach towns of several people spotting large objects in the sky. One person described it as resembling a floating ship in the sky with no windows. The US government later tried to cover it up by stating they were weather balloons or observation blimps operated by the US military, but reports later revealed no such flights in the area on the dates mentioned. What adds to this layer of mystery is that U-boat activity was very high in the North Atlantic during this period, and German submarines were known to patrol very close to the shore, even within sight of New York City harbor. While airships may evoke images of early 20th century pioneers, the age of airship travel has not entirely faded into history. One of the most prominent uses of airships today is in the world of advertising. The sight of brightly colored blimps floating high above a sporting event or festival is a common occurrence. These modern-day airships serve as mobile billboards, offering a unique and highly visible form of advertising. The large, eye-catching design allows companies to promote their brands from the sky, ensuring that they can be seen by tens of thousands of people at once. This type of advertising is especially effective at sporting events. The use of airships for advertising is not a recent phenomenon. Their tradition dates back to the early 1900s when companies began using airships to display their logos and messages. Today, companies such as Goodyear and MetLife continue to employ airships for promotional purposes. Perhaps the most famous airship, the Goodyear blimp, is not by definition a blimp at all. A true blimp is a non-rigid airship, meaning it holds its shape solely because of the pressure of the gas inside. Modern Goodyear airships, however, are semi-rigid, meaning they contain a skeleton-like internal frame to help them maintain shape. After World War II, the rise of jet aircraft, another invention of German engineering, gained widespread use. Jet aircraft could travel across the Atlantic Ocean in hours, not days, and were much more fuel efficient. Because jet aircraft could carry more passengers and were far safer, this would render zeppelins, or as they are also known as blimps, to something you will only ever see as promotional devices. Despite their fall from prominence, a small number of airships are still in use in Germany. Modern zeppelins are used for sightseeing tours, particularly around Lake Constance. These airships are smaller and safer than their early 20th century counterparts and use helium instead of hydrogen. Inside these modern-day airships, passengers can glide over Lake Constance and enjoy stunning views of rolling countryside and historic towns. There's been arguments of reviving airships. One of them comes from the logistical sector, as remote parts of the world could benefit from airships to help deliver cargo, because they can carry much heavier loads than other aircraft. Because airships can hover over land, they could be instrumental for delivering humanitarian aid in parts of the world. Airships are not for the hurried business traveler. They are craft for poets, adventurers, and honeymooners. Therefore, they could be perfect for operating scenic tours throughout Europe. Airships could make a huge comeback as cruise ships in the sky, complete with luxurious interiors, fine dining, and huge windows. Imagine waking up to views of Norwegian fjords, the Swiss Alps, the Amalfi Coast, or the west coast of Ireland. Some have stated that starting up fleets of airships as a possibility in the future for tourism could see huge benefits. Because airships cruise at much lower altitudes than jets and fly at slower speeds, they could be perfect for tourists. Airships could make a comeback, becoming the yacht of the sky. This could be perfect for flying over areas such as remote wilderness, national parks, or wildlife preserves, which are already grappling with the effects of environmental destruction to accommodate tourism. There are still many logistical challenges, however. Airships require massive hangars, are sensitive to weather, and helium is extremely expensive to use. In conclusion, airships represent a unique blend of nostalgia and innovation, an elegant reminder of humanity's attempts to conquer the skies in the early days of aviation. Although their golden age has ended, recent technological advancements and environmental concerns have prompted ideas to help revive them in some fashion. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to stay tuned for more history videos. Sincerely, the History Pilgrim.